very warm welcome to the second online EFMD online community webinar of the year. This time we're looking at virtual reality. We have 3 speakers, all with different experiences and coming from different viewpoints on the virtual reality journey. Everything's a journey these days, isn't it? But some people have, well, there's no terminus yet for this journey. It's so new, it's so exciting that we're all getting on this journey. And one of the good things, if there can be a good thing coming out of a pandemic, is the acceleration in interest in this way of delivering and displaying our courses, our programs, this way of learning and teaching. And so hopefully by the end of this webinar, we've all got a very much better idea of where it fits, what it's about, how we can make use of that ourselves, of what we learn. So the format today is, after I've stopped speaking, I'm going to invite our invited speakers along. First of all, Yulia and Elizabeth from SberUniversity in Moscow. And then Theresa from EGADE Business School in the Tecnológico de Monterrey in Mexico. And last, and so they are very much sort of in the educational field. And then Zach Macleod from NexTech AR Solutions. So very much on the technical, on the design side of virtual reality environments. So different viewpoints and different levels of activity in this area. They will each give a presentation, and I invite you to put questions into the chat as we go along. But before that, we have a question for you, don't we, Theresa? And we're going to put a question up on the screen, and this will help us. If you could respond to that question, please, then that will help us and our speakers be able to direct answers to questions a lot better, a lot more efficiently. So it's no surprise to see most respondents coming in from Europe, because that's a comfortable time for Europe, isn't it? And we do thank our first speaker today, Theresa from Mexico, where it is very much earlier in the morning, for coming along. So thank you very much. Theresa, if you'd like to end that polling, I think we've got the answers we need that will inform our speakers. And I will invite Theresa from EGADE Business School in Mexico. Please share your screen. And if everyone, you'd like to go to the top right of your screens and take the speaker side-by-side view, you'll get the full glory of the slides, and then Theresa's camera to the side.
Thank you, Keith. Should I start now? Okay.
Yes, please.
Hello, everybody. I am Theresa Maguire, and I represent Tecnológico de Monterrey in Monterrey, Mexico, and I work at EGADE Business School. And the reason for this project is because professors always dream with having their students engaged and very participative and getting the most of the sessions. And this is part of the answer. We try to do teamwork and for students to be very proactive. However, we don't know exactly what is in their minds when we give them lectures or sessions or interactive sessions. So Tec de Monterrey has gone for an immersive room. And I'm going to explain very briefly what it is. It is a space for virtual sessions and allows for vivid experiences and closeness. And this closeness is particularly important because our students miss going to campus now that with the pandemic we are in digital education. And this device allows us from getting a better atmosphere for interaction and for learning. and students live enriching learning experiences. It promotes real decisions about industry because we have associates from the industry letting students participate in real projects. So this is very important for us. And some elements of these projects are artificial intelligence, real-time simulators, big data analysis, interactive robots, and emotion recognition systems. Now, how a student learns in an immersive room? In the area of technology use, they have learning enrichment tools. And about presentations by professors and of training partners, they use multimedia, and this immersive room allows to distinguish level of attention and mood students through sensor learning tools. And on collaborative work, they have private rooms for students to work collaboratively with peers and professors and associates. And the social cognitive aspect promotes communication and interaction tools with professor and peers. And about individual learning, students answer exams or run simulations or participate in synchronous sessions. And it also allows for having virtual lab simulators, challenges, and exchange with experts. This is the appearance of the immersive room at Tec de Monterrey. And I'm going to share with you some benefits of the immersive room for faculty. They have the control center at their fingertips, so it's very fluid and very, very agile. And they achieve greater concentration and can create learning resources in a simple and fluid way, provide more personalized attention to students, and it also serves as a laboratory for investigation of teaching learning processes. And about the institution, it allows us to evolve digital classes with high interaction and active learning, to have a greatest impact on different learning styles, to evaluate and apply new teaching strategies, and use artificial intelligence to improve teaching and learning processes. Now, this implies a training for professors that is going to have 3 phases. First, sensitization about the immersive room, then the design of sessions, and then the hands-on experiences. Now I'm going to share with you a video, and I apologize because it is not translated. However, the things I just mentioned, they are represented in this video.
El Hall Immersive Room es un nuevo espacio de aprendizaje diseñado para optimizar las experiencias a distancia, favoreciendo la interacción de alumnos y profesores. El aula cuenta con tecnología de video, sistemas de comunicación y recursos de inteligencia artificial que se integran para facilitar la interacción del profesor con sus alumnos en un ambiente inmersivo. La inmersión se logra gracias a la colocación de un gran número de pantallas en formato de media luna, creando un video wall de alta definición que ofrece una visión panorámica, además de integrar cámaras, iluminación y sistemas de sonido de alta fidelidad que recrean un ambiente de inmersión para el profesor. En este espacio, el profesor puede ver los rostros de sus alumnos en tamaño natural, lo cual le ofrece una sensación de mayor cercanía con ellos. El profesor puede también visualizar el contenido de su presentación y a través del uso de pantallas táctiles puede manipular y proyectar el contenido, o bien mostrar recursos interactivos que facilitan las actividades de los alumnos y promueven el aprendizaje activo. Un elemento importante del aula es la integración de tecnología de inteligencia artificial que ayuda al reconocimiento de expresiones y emociones de los alumnos, lo cual ofrece al profesor mayor información para ajustar la dinámica de su curso y mantener la motivación del grupo.
Now, some final remarks. What is the status of the immersive room nowadays? Last year, it was about to be launched, although there were some tests pending. However, with the pandemic, we had to stop the progress of the project. And now in April, the pilot program is going to start with some professors from EGADE Business School using it as a classroom for reaching the national and international audiences. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Theresa. That is very ambitious, and from one who's managed or attempted to manage academics in the past, it's one where I can see is quite a change in practice for academic colleagues to deliver in that fashion. But thank you very much for that. If I can now call on Elizabeth and Julia from SberUniversity. This is amongst the panelists, an EOCCS certificate holding institution. SberUniversity gained their certificate from us for online excellence 4 years ago and was recently recertified. And that is something that we're very, very proud of. The VR element wasn't part of that certification, but I'm hoping we will get to see more of that later in certifications in the future. So Julia and Elizabeth, if you would like to give us your presentation.
Yes, I think I could be first. Hi everyone, my name is Lisa, and now I'm not working at Sberbank University, but I work in the Sberbank, and I'm stand at our group of company of Sberbank, and now I'm working in Sberbank, and I'm a UX UI designer. About 3 years before that, I worked at the Sberbank Corporate University, and I was engaged in the development and training of manager in the methodology of design thinking. Today, I would like to share of the case of VR technology in our program. To begin with, I want to say that design thinking program at the Sberbank Corporate University has 2 full-time days of face-to-face training, and the methodology includes 6 stages: empathy, analysis, synthesis, ideation, prototype testing, and storytelling. Today, I would like to talk about the first stage, the empathy. As you probably know, there is several empathy tools, very famous: observation, interview, and when you put yourself in your customer's shoes. If our students can try out the first and the second tools when they in practice as a part of the program, then in order to immerse them in the client's experience, we use their VR technology. There is a 15 minutes video in the format of 360 degrees, which develops empathy in our listeners. In this simulation, you find yourself in the place of elder people who interact with a complex ITM interface. In this video, we simulated different health problems of an older person: recurring migraines, blurred vision, poor hearing. By immersing themselves in this first-person simulation, they understand how difficult it can be for a person with similar problems and turn on empathy towards them. This helps us live through the experience of our users and create good products in the future with the help of design thinking. And Julia?
Nice to meet you all at this very, I think, impressive conference. And I would like to proceed just to share some of examples that we use in SberUniversity. But, well, just a few words about myself. I am head of learning and development projects, and mainly the center of expertise is about leading your self-competence, if we're talking about Sber corporate competencies. And that means that the main mission of the programs that I'm responsible for is to help people to understand better themselves, to communicate more efficient, so that all the nice ideas that our leaders have, they surely can find the ambassadors. And also I'm responsible for programs for HR team, as just I worked something about 15 years in HR division in different companies. And mainly, Lisa shared with you one of the examples where in our programs we use VR to develop empathy. And the approach that I would as well like to share with you is that normally we have, very complex programs. It's for us, it's not only just to have 2 days training and then we part with our participants, but we really love programs that can last about several months, just to be sure that we can really help to help to transfer the knowledge and to build the skill. And starting from, I guess, 2018, we use VR simulation in our complex program for public speaking development. And it turns out that actually this is, so to say, the basic topic, but, from these very years, we see that the interest to upgrade public speaking skills only emerges, and it depends surely if you take part in online meetings, events, or offline. And normally we have some pre-work in our virtual SberUniversity school, where you can have just enormous useful materials where you can see some very powerful examples of good public speaking leaders. And then when our participants come to campus, it's a 2-day face-to-face actually interaction with the expert, with the business trainer, where the focus is to really, create the space for having new experience just as a leader, as a speaker. And we use VR just between some of the just group activities to use this simulation to really train your business presentation skill. And every participant, just when he comes to our campus, he receives all the necessary tools, the instruction, and in VR simulation, he receives just very simple instruction that logically combines the theoretical part that our participant learned in virtual Sber school. And here, just a short notice, like instruction, don't forget to just put attention to the poses, to the speech, not just to give your attention to most of the participants of the audience that you have. And on the screen now, you can see real, just big conference hall for about, I guess, 350 people that we have in our campus. And it's also, just talking about experience, just to give this feeling that tomorrow we can invite you to be the speaker at this very big stage in front of very big audience, and you can really practice some of the tools that our business trainer communicated to you during the training thing. And then every participant can download, just upload his presentation, and then he receives the report concerning if the eye contact was enough, if the participant uses some of the, just these words. So just to be careful about this. And this is also just one of the opportunities from the trainer as well to receive very concrete recommendations. It's not only some soft skills for business that are necessary, that in focus of our training programs, but we really believe that it's very important to develop emotional intelligence skills, and we have a set of different learning solutions. And thus we also understand that VR can just very powerful, increase the development of mindfulness skills. And we launched the experiment, so to say. We had something about 400 people in the office in our agile home, where we made the investigation, the interview, and we offered the participants to fill in some of the questionnaires to assess the mood, the concentration from the very beginning. And then we just offered 5-minute conscious break, as we said it, using VR. And then we assessed the mood, the concentration of our participants after using VR simulation during 2 weeks. And you know, we were really impressed, because the feedback was very positive in the mood and the figures, and just numerous, you know, not only questionnaires, but also some of the paintings that our participants draw after this experience. They show that tremendously our participants feel themselves better, happier. And for us, what is more important, it's also concentrated. And we use, so to say, NPS, you know, as one of the just key metric of the program. If you have the desire to recommend this tool to your team or to someone in your family, and the feedbacks, they were very positive. So as you can see, 90% of our participants say that, yeah, we would like to have these conscious breaks. And just talking about just future plans, we will have some more time to discuss probably some of the key concrete questions that you will have after my speech. No, thank you.
Elizabeth and Yulia, thank you very, very much for that insight. That's a very interesting and an illustration from both of our speakers of how VR can mean a number of different things. And now from our third speaker, Zach Macleod from NextAR, and we'll learn from a provider of VR facilities what they see the world like at the moment.
Thank you very much, Keith. So can you hear me, Keith, everyone? Yep, brilliant. Hi guys, so pleasure to speak to you all. This is my first actual involvement with Keith and his team, and it's been a pleasure so far. Really interesting to see the landscape that is out there already, you know, in VR, particularly as you guys have been talking about, and particularly in that last presentation, Yulia and Elizabeth, you know, these guys fascinated us, or me rather, in our build up to this event, just by the work they've been doing and the forward thinking nature, I think, around mindfulness, and I think really, you know, I've seen sort of both the old and new, if you like, in terms of my career. I'm about 12 years into my career, and I started off in enterprise video communication, and how do corporate business structures efficiently communicate when they have a global presence and several thousand employees, which, you know, is what we're all really, you know, ultimately discussing is, well, how can AR and VR and mixed reality and all these various other immersive types of technology, how can they impact our lives for the better, right? And whether that be in a commercial sense, whether that be in a mindfulness element, whether that be interacting with our family. You know, we've all been having family events over Zoom over the last year, right? And as we enter the new world, or we come out of this challenging time for all of us, you know, I think we are a 2-year-old company, and our mission, vision, and we are sort of relentlessly chasing this dream, is to really just provide a better future, you know, and more inspiring future for the next generations, but also for all of you know, everyone that is coming out of this with a completely new take on not just how we work efficiently, but actually how we drive bottom line and help improve the learning of our students and within businesses as well, right? How do we share knowledge in this new hybrid world? And hybrid seems to be a buzzword which seems coming up every 5 minutes now, you know, and I think I see this as a big paradigm shift. You know, the world has changed, there is no doubt about that, And if you think about big paradigm changes over the years, initially we were using smartphones when they first came out, and it was a smartphone. Well, now it's just a phone, right? And then e-commerce suddenly came on with Amazon and Google, and we can suddenly deliver shopping to our door. And who says they're going to go and do an e-commerce buy now? We just shop online, right? And I think when you talk about augmented reality, immersive technology, virtual reality, we won't be talking about, Keith, I think you're well ahead of the game in terms of setting this up. And as we have all been discussing, this is really forward thinking, but actually very relevant right now. And what I'd like to show is just a video of some of the work that we do with many companies all over the world, and I'll give you a little taste of that, and then just show you some sort of case studies that large businesses like Johnson & Johnson, Amazon, the United Nations have done a few very large events with us recently. This will give you an idea of some of our portfolio. Thanks, guys. Hopefully the audio held up there, and you were able to sort of capture some of the moments that we have. And I've been with the business actually for only just shy of a month now. NexTech. I came from a background where I worked with a lot of large broadcasters and publishers like the BBC and the Guardian and Financial Times to deliver content at scale. And when I saw that, that what is achievable now, and I think that's key, right? AR and VR has traditionally been quite intimidating as a concept. It's seen as out there, or really future thinking. People immediately think of the Tom Cruise film. I can't think of it with AR and really sort of artificial reality running through it. But what is now achievable, by very, very small all the way up to large corporate companies, is the ability to actually share and deliver content with AR running through it, as easy as it would be to set up an Instagram page or a Facebook page, or things that we are very, very used to doing now. So as you can see here, in a short time that we have been going, and with a few acquisitions that we've brought together, we've delivered some phenomenal numbers in terms of events and both internal and external. But if we look at the sort of internal case for higher education, if you like, and for management education, and how can this touch all of your lives? Here are some early adopters that we're working with already. We've got an incredible amount of inbound interest, including Harvard, and I'm speaking to many of the top red brick universities in the UK that are really taking this seriously now. And I think that's what I've noticed. Even coming from speaking to my old customers, they have someone like the Guardian. He said to me, Zach, this is now on my agenda in terms of employee engagement and learning and knowledge sharing, because I've gone from having 5 distributed offices to suddenly 70 or potentially 10,000, right? If you have a 10,000 person business. So I would love to take any questions on use cases or where you see the future going in terms of your world. This is some of the things we see in terms of trade shows and conferences and fairs, in terms of job fairs, corporate events, learning, management, education, and I would yeah, I'd love to speak to anyone that's joined us today in terms of their plans within their own institutions. And Keith, I'm sure share background with everyone after the webinar. Thank you. That's me done, Keith, I think.
Well, thank you very much, Zach. Yes, very interesting. And as a message I give, very interesting. And as a message I give, I can hear my own voice coming back at me. So if, yep, no, we're okay now. A message I give out at conferences and seminars and where I'm able to speak is actually with this, our own imagination is the only limit where this can go. So please let me open the floor. We've already had some questions in the chat, and I think we've got a small enough number of people. It's a large number of people, but a small enough number of people to allow everyone to ask their own questions. And we had a first question from Roger Seiler, and I know everyone's going to be interested to know the answer to this one. Roger, would you like to open your microphone and share with us your question?
I'm not sure if Roger is with us still or not.
Okay, no problem. I can voice his question and ask the panel. I think it was particularly directed the question at Theresa, and that is around, how did you get the students, are there any legal issues around the students sharing information about themselves that they perhaps don't even know they're giving, their biometric information, their expressions on your huge virtual screen there? How do you get around that?
Yes, we're working on it because the legal aspect is very important, and students need to grant their permission to being part of that project. And if they do not accept, they couldn't participate on that. I mean, they are free not to participate if they don't agree on sharing their emotions or attention or mood through a sensor. So we're working on it. It's still not resolved yet.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think a lot of people in the audience will be familiar with sort of informed consent for research, and that's the sort of thing we're going for there. Okay. Right, there was a very practical question from Olivier. Olivier, would you like to put your question? I think that was again directed at Theresa, but I think our other panelists might well have responses for you.
Hi, Keith. Hi, everyone. Very pleased to be in this very interesting meeting. Yes, I had two very practical, I'm quite, I would say, a beginner in this field. So I had two very practical questions. The first one was regarding the sensors. And I was eager to know a little bit more in terms of, well, what kind of sensors? Is it something which is complex in terms of installation, in terms of buying this, and maybe to have some idea of the specific investments being required here. At the same time, in terms of receiving the signals and capturing the signals, could be interesting to have some ideas. And I was also interested in having, I would say, a first order of magnitude in terms of total investment. We've seen the room, which is quite impressive and beautiful. So what kind of amount of investment we're talking here? I would have been also interested in having some even broad numbers regarding the different parts of this investment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olivier, for your questions. First of all, the first one, the technicalities, I don't know, but they gather from students information about their moods and from their eyes and state of being, state of mind, attention, being there with the session or not. And so professors have an immediate feedback on how the students are doing, how they are receiving his or her delivery. So I'm probably not answering very well your question because of the technical aspects, but I can find out for you and share with you later. And yes, it is a very costly project and installation. It cannot be scalable. Tech de Monterrey is planning to have only 3 in the country. We have 26 campus, so there will be 1 in each main city, 1 in Monterrey that is already to be almost ready to be launched, another 1 in Mexico City, and another 1 in Guadalajara, which are the 3 main cities in the country. Because yes, it's a very high investment of a lot of technology and human and resources, so it's not something that you can do in a massive way. However, all students can benefit from it because from those 3 main sites, the delivery is being done to cover all students registered.
I wonder, Zach, without being doing too much of a sales pitch, you know, if one of our participants today wanted to have a virtual seminar or a virtual conference, what sort of price area would they be looking at for an audience, let's say up to 1,000? That puts you on the spot.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, because it's a good question, because it comes back full loop to what I was saying about AR and VR. It can be intimidating, often because of the cost or complexity involved, right? And I think what we've changed in terms of the goalpost of the market is actually we've built a purpose-built digital experience platform, and platform is the key word there. So we have built a template, if you like, that allows the customers to go and seamlessly actually deliver that event in a far more efficient and nimble way than they were previously, with bigger reach and more analytics and more immersive technology behind it. And the price points, actually, if you compare the 1,000 person event, the cost of delivering that, Keith, for the audience, whether they be partly virtual or actually on site as well, and you look at the ROI when you actually run a hybrid event, which includes a virtual exhibition or a virtual part of the event, actually the ROI is considerably more when you look at that virtual, because the costs are far less to deliver because of companies like NexTech and others that are providing this opportunity now. And I think that's the key thing. Maybe 5 years ago, this wasn't actually something that an ordinary, let's say, size, either university or business or organization could actually achieve. But we've had customers that onboard, they sign up, and a week later they have set up their full exhibition hall and lobbies and virtual booths and running events to regions and markets they'd never touched before. They're pulling in people from Asia and Brazil and so on. And I think that's where this is really interesting in terms of expanding your opportunities as these institutions and reach. I think you're on mute, Keith.
Always once during a seminar, I forget that. But thank you for that. As I know, no one's mentioning amounts, Olivier, but big amount or less than you would if you were doing it face to face. When you,
and you can start small, Keith. I think that's the key. Let's say an event that you mentioned up to 1,000. We're talking into the 5,000-10,000. So we're talking start small, deliver an event, and then as you grow, the economies of scale per event comes down, and actually your ROI is what we're seeing is our customers coming back to us saying we've actually been able to displace this inefficient old sort of practice that we were doing, whether it be education or a workshop which costs $200,000 or 200,000 euros. Now they're spending 50,000 euros on a hybrid event and seeing much bigger ROI than they were in that previous world. That makes sense.
Excellent. It does indeed, Zach. Thank you. And here's one. I think anyone on the panel to go for this one, perhaps take it from Karan Kapoor. Karan, are you with us? Can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay, it's a very important question, and I think it's on many people's minds at the moment. Karan's question, you've seen it in the chat. Do you think brick and mortar facilities will become redundant in classroom teaching? How will that impact the education economy? who'd like to start with that? I mean, Julia and Elizabeth, I know because I visited your wonderful university campus in Moscow, but it's nowhere big enough to house all of the students, delegates and managers you have to teach and train. So is this classroom, physical classroom, a thing of the past?
Well, actually, I can probably start sharing, but surely it's only, every company and every university, I believe, has its own just history. And our context, actually, that we have enormous students, it's about 30,000 leaders that we develop constantly. And focus for this year is as well, to help to build digital skills and to develop soft skills for our key B2B and B2B and B2G clients. And so just having these a lot of students, for us, campus will never die, so to say. And for us, it's a good story because now we returned to face-to-face training programs. And I see the benefit how we can combine actually. So we keep digital, virtual, immersive training programs just to, to create this collaborative environment for our leaders from different territories. For example, that cannot for now travel, still cannot travel along all the cities in Russia. But meanwhile, we can really just keep face-to-face programs for those who is in Moscow and who just, if we take some specific, things about programming or even very deep programs for development of soft skills, we can attract them to our campus. So I would say, just our contacts say that probably we will never choose either we'll stay virtually or we go to face-to-face. For us, it's just last year, it was a great challenge for us, for learning experience designers and for leaders, to give positive examples that virtually you can develop effectively. But it really asks a lot of, so to say, new skills in our team of methodologists and in tools, surely, so that they could be safe, not very expensive. But for me, I think we will surely keep both. And now we are talking about next step, for example, in virtual learning, just how we can make high touch and high tech solutions so that still our participants can choose not just traditionally face-to-face considered to be really effective and powerful, that I can choose, because as well as our clients that come to Sber, they choose if I want to go to face-to-face office to take some of the finance and non-finance services, or I can do this online. And for us, it's as well, just to give the experience that actually synchronized with our business module as well. But surely, I think we need we face that we needed to take very smart solutions, how to choose, how many and what programs we can really keep virtually, and what programs it's just critical important to keep face-to-face. And for this, this is the questions that we are discussing in our team and that we constantly experimenting, because it's not that we have the program for 3 years and it's very standard. Just from just each group, then we analyze and what was the experience. And just to cut it short, just one of the program that I launched for digital leaders several weeks ago, and I just asked, please tell me, just within the last year, did you finish any virtual program that you choose yourself, and what the experience was like? And I was impressed that many participants say, yeah, it was very difficult, but I was motivated really just to pass this journey, and surely I was so to say astonished that some of the tools like I don't know, Miro, Trello, and some other, even Zoom, that they can really just grant immersive experience.
Thank you, Julia. Theresa, in Mexico, still going to have classrooms, traditional classrooms?
Well, yes. Let me tell you that depending on the level of scholars, for undergrad students, they earn to go back to, I mean, they want to go back to the face-to-face classroom because of the experience and the sports and the artistic developing and the labs, etc. So yes, we're keeping the campus. For graduate students in the business school, for instance, we have a part-time program that students need to travel and they work already. So they need to be digitally connected so that they don't lose their sessions. And we have some online programs by design, not because of the pandemic. And they are being very successful because people are so mobile that they cannot probably have to be in a same place at same hour. And for executive education, we have discovered that they are not very fond of digital education, but still we're starting with some programs with great success. So it's a matter of educating people to being educated in another modality. However, we're keeping the campus. And only on a final note, our new study plans for 2020, they include a 25% of online education anyhow, despite the circumstances. So the combination, as Julia was saying, combining face-to-face. Now we're moving towards a hybrid program because students want to come back to school, but it's being very careful and with a lot of protocols for health issues. And so we're having very small groups on campus and the rest of the students connected through digital medium. So still we are keeping the brick and mortar.
And I'll come to Zach next, but I think we might all imagine what your response will be. Do we need physical classrooms? But I wonder if you're seeing the business model of business schools and universities changing. They can reach audiences that they couldn't reach if they were physical, or they're even driven by a sustainability agenda about the carbon footprint of moving people around the world, which has been our past. Are you detecting any of that there is a move towards this, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, you might be surprised, Keith, because I think actually there will always be a place for children in classrooms. To be honest, you know, I remember when I was probably in year 3 or up 8 or 9 years old and going to a breakfast club, you know, because I was behind in maths, and you know that was integral, and having that interaction is, you know, so I think there's going to be a few sort of mentality changes, if you like, you know, to the approach to education. And you know, I think as Theresa and Julia both just said, we are going to be entering a hybrid education sector whereby there is this concept of blended learning. You know, I think blended learning, the idea that children can learn best in both digital and physical you know, interactions, is something that was introduced in the 60s, I think. So that's not, you know, blended learning is not a new concept, but now what is new is the need, and the fundamental need to provide the tools, I think, is the first thing. And then the second thing is to take the student-centric approach to this, rather than trying to make it fit your, you know, particular institution. It's actually flipping it almost and saying, how do students learn best, you know, given the tools that are out there today, but also, you know, the generation that is coming through that is purely sort of digital in all aspects of their life, right? You know, are there parts of their education that they are not progressing well enough, or as much as they could be, perhaps, by using other immersive technologies? And I think that's where, you know, I joined NexTech because I'm really excited and passionate about the impact that immersive technologies and the various projects that Theresa and Julia really, really amazing to see be put into practice already, but the impact that will have on learning and talent, and making or widening, let's say, the scope for children to achieve things that maybe they didn't realize were possible before. And I think that's where new technology, bigger and better, isn't always the way to go just for the sake of it. You've got to have to really think about what purpose are we trying to achieve here by bringing this in. And that's where we work closely with the universities and various departments we work with. Is we don't try and just flog augmented or virtual or mixed reality. It's actually saying, what are you trying to achieve from this seminar or this conference or this course? And then once we know that, we can help shape an event, whether it be in-person, hybrid, or a purely virtual, that you can actually start to gain a lot better understanding of your students and actually what they are reacting well to or not.
Thank you, Zach. And we have a question, quite an overarching question. Jana, if that is how your name is pronounced, you got it up in Russian, so I hope my Russian pronunciation is good. I wonder if you'd like to open your microphone and ask your question. No, your microphone is still off. The bottom left of your screen should switch it on.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jana.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everyone, and good evening time for the people from the Central Asia. I'm from Kazakhstan. I'm not from Russia. I'm from Kazakhstan, working at the university. I have two questions to the speakers. The first one, can you please clarify the meaning of the term immersive business education? And the second question is, in what extent does the virtual reality develop critical thinking skills of the learners? Thank you. Please.
Who'd like to take that one first? What's our understanding of immersive in this area?
So I think that's a personal thing. I'll give a short take on that. When I think about immersive technology and immersive changes that we are introducing to our lives, does it improve the way we communicate with each other or share knowledge or receive knowledge, right? And I think that's personal. That's why I was saying about important to take a student-centric approach. I'm a very visual learner. And if you give me a video or let's say a virtual lab where I can actually move something around and look underneath and look at the Bunsen burner or whatever it may be, or in a business sense, if I can actually engage with a person in, let's say, a different country, but we can have that immersive experience. I think it's a very wide term that can mean a lot of things depending on the use case. But for me, it's always about adding the experience and making the experience better and richer than it was before. That'll be my short take.
Yes. Any other of our panelists have a definition for us? Please, Theresa, go ahead.
As I mentioned in my presentation, the aspect of being close to each other despite the distance is very important, and immersive education allows you to do that because it feels like more real. In fact, professors perceive the faces of their students in real size, not in the little squares, but in real size. So that gives a sensation of being closer. And particularly the technology doesn't work itself on its own. We have to design learning experiences and learning activities so that students live the learning, not only sit passively expecting for it to make some changes on them. So living the experience, as I was saying, is the most important part of immersive education. Thank you.
Okay. So if there are no other answers of that, what about Jana's second question about critical thinking, which is our aspiration and hope for our students, that they learn to learn and learn to think as they go through our various programs. How can virtual reality help there?
Hey, Keith, I'll just quickly jump in on that one.
Thanks, Zach.
Just because, so I was just speaking to a customer in Canada last week, and it was a virtual lab. You know, it's a university that conducted a pre and sort of after, before and after questionnaire with all of their students, and it was, you know, it was a pilot test, one of the largest universities in Canada, and they said to this, you know, the students in the class, can you explain, you know, how does this experience compare to both your in-person, you know, being in the classroom, let's say pre-pandemic, you know, last year, 2 years ago, and how does it compare to the learning they've been doing over the last 12 months in terms of, you know, very much Zoom and Teams and this sort of, let's say, this face-to-face, one-to-one or one-to-many type communication. But once we've started overlaying holograms and AR and VR in a very cost-efficient way for the university, but for the students, it just lifted the engagement, the learning, and each of them came out and said, if we could roll that across our other subjects, I think 74% said they would love to see it rolled across each of their different courses within their degrees. I think, you know, really, no one really knows where they want to get to yet, because this is all brand, you know, the world it is changing still. And as we come out of this, it will continue to adapt, and different organizations will adapt differently. But what I do think everyone knows, and students are no different to ourselves and various, you know, everyone all over the world, is that we're looking for something different and more than, you know, than a I don't want to sort of bash Zoom or Teams or the, you know, various other technologies, but these aren't built for that level of immersive experience as we just discussed, or to bring out that creativity within the students. And I think once they start interacting with AR and VR and mixed reality, it actually starts really there's like a domino effect with various other parts of their learning behaviors that all are enhanced as well. And perhaps that's a subconscious thing, you know, that sort of brings the groups, the mojo, if you like, to the, you know, to the debate or to the classroom. And I think that's what it is, trying to give them the feel and experience and things we took for granted, perhaps, you know, being able to see your professor in front of you, or whoever, describe something in person. And I think it just, you know, it touches different emotions and different learning points within students and within people. And I think that's what we feel, what we've heard is really driving engagement.
Okay, we're coming to the very end of our webinar today. So I thank all of our speakers very much for their contributions today, for answering questions. And I am going to ask them, I'm asking them publicly now, to contribute to our blog, to tell their story on our blog, so you can pick up on that at a later time. And I'm going to take the opportunity to say I've been a credit appraising banker, a lending banker, for a number of years, and training lending bankers and teaching lending bankers. 30 years ago, we were taken to a farm so that we could ask a real farmer the questions to be able to lend money to his small business. On a bigger class, you might have a written case study. So again, 10 years ago, a written case study. A little while later, I made a video using actors. I can't wait for virtual reality and AI and AR to come together to allow that experience to train people in those very personal, real tasks, relationship building tasks, so that they get it right when they go and do it for real. So I certainly, I mean, I'd love to be able to develop something like that in my teaching. Can I thank everybody in our audience today for their excellent questions, some very interesting, some practical, but also some very thought-provoking philosophical points coming out there. And I do hope you're going to be able to join us in the future for another webinar. We choose different subjects as we go along, but certainly this online collaboration seems to have some resonance. So I think if you can look out for our next webinar towards the end of May, perhaps early June, around collaboration online, something we'd love our students to be able to do. thank you once again to our speakers. Thank you, Theresa, for your administrative skills in organising this. And I bid you all a good morning, afternoon, evening, and a very happy break if you are looking forward to a break over this next weekend.